Welcome to Creative Path, the podcast for anyone looking to be more creative. I'm Jaime, multidisciplinary designer, and I wanted to talk today about sitting in discomfort. I think that this skill is really important with relationships and the people in your life, and also hearing people out when they're going through something hard. But I think it's also something that's really powerful for creativity. I have a couple of people in my life right now who are going through something hard, and I'm doing my best to be there for them. I don't always feel like I'm perfect, but I think showing up and being able to sit with someone while they're experiencing harder emotions I'm just understanding how it's more of an important skill than I had realized before. And I was listening to a podcast on NPR. As always, I don't remember what it was titled. I think it was 7 things that will help someone if they're going, or 7 things to say if someone is going through something hard. I will link it in the show notes. But one of the things that I really loved about what they were saying was about like when someone is telling you something hard, instead of, trying to offer solutions or talking about your own life, you hear them out and you ask more about what they're going through. You say things like, tell me more, and what are you going to do about that? And that, what are you going to do about that is really interesting because the speaker described how important it is to let people come up with their own solutions. When you are talking to someone and they're coming to you because they're going through something hard and you offer a solution right off the bat, you're kind of taking away the satisfaction of them solving it. This is how the speaker in the podcast described it. And I've never thought about that. I think that's really interesting because, I think me as a designer, other people who I know do the same kind of thing. We're solution-oriented people. We want to find a way to solve something that someone brings to us. And in a lot of cases, it's more about sitting in with someone. And when you let people have their own kind of journey with discovering how to solve their problem, you are also ensuring that you're not the center of attention. In a conversation with 2 people, sometimes it's just more important for that person to be heard. And maybe you have another similar experience, or maybe there are ways that you need to be seen and heard or whatever. And that can kind of get in the way of putting their needs kind of first in that exchange. And I think I've just been thinking about it and trying to connect with people in my life more. I guess the jump that I'm making between this being in connection or relationships and talking about emotions and what people are going through and being able to sit in discomfort, there is something about you as a person being able to sit in discomfort and how important it is to be able to do that on your own and how that can extend to other people. But also in craft, in creativity, it's pretty essential to be able to do that. And I think I have a few ideas as to why. One book that comes to mind, as always, is Deviate by Beau Lotto. He talks about how it's really, really hard for people to imagine things that aren't already in existence. So that's why things like drawing a sketch or making analogies or drawing conclusions between something that's new and something that maybe people understand already. And I will say this quote forever. He says, the brain takes small steps, not big leaps. And I think when you do things like make analogies or draw a sketch, you're allowing people to connect more of those dots. And so part of sitting in discomfort, part of it is dealing with hard emotions or things you don't quite understand yet. That's when I think about being in relationships and whatnot. But when you're engaging with craft, when you're making something new, creating something new is hard. There are things that maybe you feel or experiences that you have that you don't know how they're going to play out in the thing that you're creating yet. You just know that you want to make a thing and you feel these things. And I think it's one thing to have the confidence to sit in that discomfort, just lean into it. And then it's another to create this something new and then pitch it to people, right? There are all of these instances in history where someone created something new and no one wanted it. No one bought it in the beginning. No one understood it. And a part of being an artist or part of being a creative person is standing by something and, taking feedback, but also going for things and sitting in that discomfort and drawing those conclusions, making connections for people. And it's also, I think, why a lot of people will discourage you from trying something new, especially if they don't understand it. If they don't understand it, how can they condone it? How can they understand what you were talking about or what your goal is? And sometimes you literally just need to go out and do it on your own. You don't need anyone else to tell you. And I feel like I learned this a few years after I got into design. And one of the things that I did to kind of lean into the discomfort of trying things that are new was that I actually would listen to really dissonant music. I think I looked up like dissonant music on Spotify. There was some sort of podcast. There was some sort of playlist, and I would do that sometimes when I drew things or when I tried something new. There's always this discomfort when you try something new. Even if you're engaging in like the same craft, like let's say you're drawing, if you are drawing something that you don't usually draw, there's a discomfort to it. And I think when you get comfortable being with this discomfort and lean into it with like listening to music or, I don't know, other things that kind of push your brain to somewhere else, I think it can be really impactful. So this one was a little bit more of a diary entry, but thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please feel free to like and review, and I'll catch you next time.